everybody, I'm Lara Trump coming to you from Trump Tower in New York City. President Trump's achievements are all the more impressive when you consider the unprecedented opposition he's faced all along. The hysteria and hypocrisy of the left only get more extreme by the day. One of the people who's done the most to expose the Democrats' hypocrisy is a conservative author, filmmaker, and commentator, Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh, thanks so much for joining us.
Very happy to be on the show.
Now, Dinesh, I'll bet no one knows more about hypocrisy on the left than you. Tell me how you were targeted by the Obama administration over campaign contributions leading to your criminal conviction.
Well, actually, it began with me exposing the hypocrisy of Obama himself. I followed in the tracks of Obama. I went to Hawaii and Indonesia and Kenya. In Kenya, I found Obama's brother, George Obama, really living in a third world type of hut. Wow. In the muck of Nairobi. And Obama, the president, had been traipsing around the country talking about how we are our brother's keeper. And here was his actual brother living in misery, and he had not lifted a finger to help him. So the movie was very damaging to Obama. And I know this because Obama was himself railing about it on his own website, barackobama.com. Literally weeks later, the FBI came banging on my door. In my FBI file, interestingly, I'm red flagged as a right-wing conservative. So right from the beginning, I was a political target. Right, and the proof that I was targeted is very simple. No American has ever been prosecuted, let alone locked up, for exceeding the campaign finance law by $20,000 with no corruption and no prior conviction. So for these reasons, I think this was clearly a political hit. Obviously, it's something that I went through, and it's illustrative of broader problems in the country today. The left is using the state, the weapons of the state, the IRS, the DOJ, against political enemies. My case was an example of that.
Wow. Well, we've certainly seen that, play out in the time that Donald Trump has been our president to a degree. And I can't imagine going through what you went through. I mean, that had to be life-changing in the most horrible way. But tell me, what was your reaction when you learned that President Trump pardoned you?
It was just a feeling of tremendous elation. It wasn't just that I, didn't have a probation officer breathing down my neck. It isn't just that the left couldn't, put the felon badge around me anymore. Ultimately, I felt like I got my American dream back. Obviously, a restoration of my rights, the ability to vote, to own a gun. So I felt like the American dream that seemed to have had a dark cloud over it, and that cloud has now been lifted.
Oh, I mean, it must feel amazing. I can't even imagine. You're about to release a new film that describes the Democrats' history of hypocrisy.
The stakes could not be higher. We're talking about America, the greatest nation on earth. Lincoln saved America for the first time. It's now up to us to save America a second time.
Dinesh, I'm so intrigued. This looks incredible. Tell me about this film.
The movie is called Death of a Nation. I'll have a book of the same title coming out that week. It opens August 3rd nationwide. In a sense, the movie draws an analogy between Trump and Lincoln, which may seem surprising, but I think the reason for it is that not since 1860 have the Democrats today so fanatically refused to accept the result of a free election. Also, the incivility of our environment today, the sheer savagery of it. I think Reagan, had he lived now, would be really confused. But Reagan lived in an era of gentleman's politics. But one guy who would understand these roiled political waters is Lincoln, because the political waters were even more roiled when he was running. We draw really a lesson from Lincoln for President Trump, and show how the Republican Party can live up to its own great tradition, the tradition of emancipation.
Wow. Well, this is something that I can't wait to see, and I'm encouraging everyone out there to go see it. August 3rd it comes out, so we don't even have a full month to wait. We can go see it very soon. Really exciting stuff, Dinesh. I want to change gears for a second and talk about something else. Should we be surprised that the Democrats attack the president on race issues, yet his policies have actually led to record low unemployment among Black and Hispanic Americans? Isn't it? I mean, it sounds crazy that he would get attacked on this now.
Well, this theme of racism, and I'll add the theme of fascism, is right out of the movie, because the left has been using these two incendiary cards, not just against President Trump, but against the Republicans, against the right. I mean, think about the notion that fascism is on the right, or the notion that the Republican Party is the party of bigotry. We've been hearing this now for decades.
Right.
So the movie kind of does a deep dive into these issues. Now, the thing about President Trump is that there's nothing racial about him. He's drawing a line between the legal and the illegal immigrant. Let's remember that most legal immigrants who come to this country now are non-white. They don't come from Europe anymore. They predominantly come from Asia, Africa, South America. So this effort to portray Trump as a racist is simply preposterous. But on the other hand, there is genuine institutional racism on the left and fascist tactics. Not just Antifa, the kind of guys on the streets wearing costumes and all this thuggery, but also the use of the deep state against your political opponents, this identification of the party with the state. That's a very fascist tactic.
Yeah.
So the movie exposes the way in which the racist and fascist tail belong not on the Republican elephant, but on the Democratic donkey.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to see it. And you're right. I mean, this is nothing new. This notion that, a Republican is a racist. This is something that the left has tried to say for many, many decades now. I think what they're finding, though, is that they don't have anything to back it up, because this president, as we just talked about, has really done a great job of doing things the right way across the board. Donald Trump has never cared about, the color of your skin. I can tell you that whenever he ran his business, the Trump Organization, he didn't care if you were a man or a woman, what your race was, what your pedigree was, or your background. He cared that you got the job done. And I know that is the way that he's leading this country. I just find it really fascinating to watch the Democrats sort of stumble around and try and keep these narratives going and try and find new ways to make this president look bad. I think it's getting really old, and I actually think many people are catching on to it.
The distinguishing feature of President Trump is his bravery, because in the past, Republicans have been somewhat invertebrate. They're scared. They duck under the table, they run for the exits. There was a chairman of the RNC going before the NAACP and black churches and apologizing for the racist history of the Republican Party, when the Republican Party, in fact, has no racist history.
Right.
Trump fights back, and that is really what has unnerved the other side. They don't expect that.
Yeah, well, it's working, and we both know something about him. He's going to keep doing it, so I'm really proud of that. Now, finally, Dinesh, the president just nominated Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. What's your prediction for the Democrats' obstruction of the confirmation process? Because we know that they were planning it before he even announced who his pick was, right?
Yes. Now, Kavanaugh could not be more qualified. He could not be a more decent guy. The bottom line of it is you have two clashing views of what the court is all about. Now, the left's view is completely contradictory. On the one hand, they will say Roe versus Wade is settled law. On the other hand, they will say this is a living constitution whose meaning changes all the time, depending on how the world changes. And they hold those two positions simultaneously. The Republican and conservative view has always been consistent. A judge's job is not to make law. The judge is more like an umpire or referee in a game. The rules are made. The judge's job is to apply the rules in a difficult situation. I think Kavanaugh will get through, and he'll restore a modicum of sanity to a Supreme Court.
Well, we sure hope so. Dinesh, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for being an amazing and inspiring voice for liberty, and good luck with the movie. We're all really excited to see it.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining me today, too. The Democrats' hysteria and hypocrisy are fast becoming legendary, but so too are the achievements of President Donald Trump, despite it all. That's the real news for today. I'm Lara Trump from Trump Tower in New York City. Goodbye, everybody.